again sharing that insight. Now we move on to our next news. French President Emmanuel Macron says U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear sites were genuinely effective, but warns that the worst outcome would be if Iran quits the Global Non-Proliferation Treaty. Macron spoke after an EU summit in Brussels, calling Iran's potential exit a collective weakening. To prevent that, he's launching talks with the UN Security Council's permanent members and has already spoken with President Trump. The strikes last week involved US B-2 bombers and a missile submarine hitting 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. Trump called the attacks a spectacular military success, claiming they obliterated Iran's program. But a leaked US intelligence assessment suggests the damage may only delay Iran's nuclear ambitions by months, a report sharply criticized by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Iran, meanwhile, is accusing the UN nuclear watchdog of siding with Israel and may withdraw from the 1970 NPT, which could spark a global arms control crisis. Listen in to what French President Emmanuel Macron has said.
Le dire, pour moi, le pire scénario serait celui où on laisserait l'Iran après ces frappes qui ont eu une efficacité réelle. Les frappes américaines ont eu une efficacité réelle sur Natanz, Ispahan et Fordo. Mais le pire, ce serait que derrière, la conséquence soit une sortie du traité de non-prolifération de l'Iran et donc au fond une dérive et un affaiblissement collectif.
Now we have guests joining us for this discussion. Peter Baum, he's a foreign editor of Weekly Blitz, joining us live from London. Thank you, Peter, for joining us today. Good to see you. If Iran leaves the Non-Proliferation Treaty, how big a blow would that be to the global arms control regime, according to you?
I don't think it will be, in practice, a blow, because what we're seeing at the moment, after the ceasefire being in effect a couple of days now, is a game of bluff and bluster. And the Iranians have not much in their armory to pull the strings here. The idea that that they could re-establish a nuclear program in the months ahead has been touted around the media. But given the damage that has been done to their 3 nuclear facilities, the number of personnel who would take years, the number of personnel eliminated who would take years to replace, it is highly doubtful whether, if they started today, the Iranians could get anywhere near the level of uranium enrichment they were in a few months' time. Seems to me to be preposterous. Now, the idea that they're talking about not joining talks, etc., I think is a game of bluff and bluster. They're simply biding their time because the regime has been so devastated. They don't have the people in power to create the conditions necessary for them to negotiate with those that have clearly won this, let's say, military exercise. So I think we will continue for the days ahead, possibly weeks ahead, Iranians trying to put pressure on the United Nations, on the Trump administration, by suggesting that they're not joining any talks and they won't do so until certain conditions are met. The only conditions that the Iranians are currently fearful of not meeting is that the current regime will stay in power, because as we're talking, and even since the ceasefire, there have been numerous explosions within Iran, numerous assassinations, numerous riots, which we're not seeing from the Iranian media for obvious reasons. And what's going on internally in terms of trying to for regime change is the main considerations that Iranians are undertaking, and they clearly don't have any appetite at this moment in time to come to the negotiating table because they're not in a position to.
Thank you, Peter Brom. You will stay with us for our next news.